Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'd like to ask, right, when you make the distinction between not having the Yod Vei Vav Hei
Yeah.
inside the Quran and you're saying it doesn't appear there, yeah, that's, I think you're making an assumption, right? And I'd like to hear that in your answer. Why Yod Hei Vav Hei doesn't mean Allah. It's not referring to God in a way. So you're making things that they could be distinct and different. Now, if that's the case, how do we know that they're distinct? Well, surely you would go by the descriptions when Yahweh is mentioned. Because Yahweh is not mentioned Yod Vei Vav Hei inside the New Testament, except that. Yeah? It's in Greek. Yeah? So when you say Allah and Yod Vei Vav Hei do not mean the same thing, surely you have to look at the text, as in
Yeah.
like in order to see what they mean and if they mean the same thing.
Sure.
I'd like to know why you're so certain that.
Yeah, happy to answer that.
And also as well.
The second question.
Okay, yep, thanks.
Only one question after that, please.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. Speaking in the name of Yahweh is very specific because there are many other gods, and even speaking in the name of El, God could be ambiguous, and Baal could have a good meaning or a bad meaning. So speaking in the name of Yahweh was specific, speaking in the name of the God of Israel. All right, not just God generically. So Allah is the God, right? So a very distinct person is there. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we can contrast, and this is a fascinating debate, the character of Yahweh in the Old Testament with the character of Allah in the Quran. And you'll see that there are distinct differences as well, many distinct differences. Books have been written about that. And then thirdly, we have the Greek New Testament, but Jesus was not primarily speaking in Greek. And he does say to his disciples that he came in the name of his Father, that he reveals his name to them, so his fullness of his character. And if you look in the Syriac Peshitta, it actually does recognize where you would have Maria, where you would have references to Yahweh as well. But again, to repeat, it's very, very specific in terms of speaking in the name of Yahweh to distinguish him from all other deities. And it's not attacking Muhammad, it's simply to say he did not speak in Yahweh's name. And again, it is to understand that there are differences in the character of Yahweh, things said about him in the Bible that are not said about Allah in the Quran. And then lastly, we have the New Testament in Greek where you would have any reference to Yahweh written as Kyrios. But if you have passages that are quoted from the Hebrew Bible that have Yahweh, then Yahweh would have been used. So in as spoken in either Hebrew or Aramaic, Yahweh would have been used. It's just we have it in Greek because that's the way to get it to the massive number of people. So no dispute, no contradiction there. And again, Muhammad is not the prophet like Moses because Muhammad did not speak in Yahweh's name, among many other things.
Okay, Zakir, 1 minute.
Okay. As far as Huwa, Dr. Brand said, I'm saying this polemically. So Ibn Arabi from like 800 years ago, Imam al-Razi, and who else? Ibn Hajar, who said Huwa is the most powerful name of God. That was their opinion. He listed in the name. And Ya Allah, Ya Huwa, were they saying that polemically? They were waiting to debate Dr. Brand. As far as the name El, because Dr. Brand likes to say Allah is a generic name for God, El basically. This is what Margaret Barker writes in her book, The Great Angel, page 20. The Pentateuch tells us that El was the most ancient name for God, and that Yahweh, the name revealed to Moses and connected to the Exodus tradition, replaced it. That's what the opinions say. This is what Mark S. Smith writes in the Early History of God. The original God of Israel was El. This reconstruction may be inferred from two pieces of information. First, the name of Israel is not a Yahwistic name with a divine element of Yahweh. So in other words, there were Jews, like there were Muslims, like Ibn Arabi, who made Huwa the most powerful name of God. And all it is in Israelite history, that became more dominant after. And they projected the name back onto the patriarchs, because Exodus chapter 6, verse number 3 says they didn't know the name.